In the year 1324, a king left his empire and walked into history. His name was Mansa Musa, ruler of the Mali Empire, and he was so wealthy, his very footsteps shook the economies of entire continents. Try to comprehend what that means. There have been rich people throughout history, emperors, oil barons, tech billionaires. But none of them did what Mansa Musa did. He passed through a city, gave away gold like pocket change, and caused an economic depression that lasted 12 years. 12 years. One man's generosity crashed the economy of Egypt, the most powerful state in the medieval Islamic world, and it took more than a decade for the markets to recover. Mansa Musa ruled over an empire larger than Western Europe. His land stretched across modern-day Mali, Senegal, Guinea, and beyond. Beneath his soil lay more than half of the world's gold supply. He did not just have wealth, he was wealth itself. When he traveled, he brought so much gold with him that the sheer volume of it entering local economies permanently altered the value of money across North Africa and the Middle East. No one had ever seen anything like it. No one has seen anything like it since. This is the story of the richest human being who ever lived. A king who built universities that rivaled any in the world. A man whose pilgrimage became legend across 3 continents. A ruler who turned Timbuktu from a desert trading post into one of the great centers of learning in human history. Mansa Musa. The man whose gold funded civilization itself. Mansa Musa ruled over an empire larger than Western Europe. His land stretched across modern-day Mali, Senegal, Guinea, and beyond. The Mali Empire controlled the trans-Saharan trade routes that connected West Africa to North Africa and the Mediterranean. Every ounce of gold that reached Europe from West Africa passed through his territory. Every salt caravan, every shipment of ivory, every trade good moving north and south across the desert paid taxes to his treasury. Beneath his soil lay more than half of the world's gold supply. The Bambuk and Beret goldfields were among the richest ever discovered. In an era when Europe and the Middle East used gold coins for international trade, Mali was the source. Without Mansa Musa's gold, the economies of Europe and North Africa would have ground to a halt. He did not just have wealth, he was wealth itself. The Mali Empire sat at the center of the medieval world's economic system. To the north, the Berber traders of North Africa brought salt, textiles, and horses to exchange for gold. To the east, the markets of Cairo and Baghdad waited for the gold that would become dinars and dirhams. To the south, the forests of West Africa provided ivory, cola nuts, and slaves for the trans-Saharan trade. Mansa Musa controlled all of it. Every trade route, every market, every transaction paid tribute to his throne. Mansa Musa came to the throne under unusual circumstances. His predecessor, Abu Bakr II, did not die in battle or of old age. He launched a fleet of ships into the Atlantic Ocean, determined to find the edge of the world. According to accounts preserved by Arab historians, Abu Bakr set sail with hundreds of ships, ordering his captains to return only when they ran out of food. He never came back. Whether the story is true or legend, it captures something essential about the Mali Empire. It was a place of ambition, of kings who believed the world was larger than what they could see. Mansa Musa inherited that ambition along with the throne. He was not content to simply rule the richest empire on earth. He wanted to put it on the map, literally. The first years of his reign were spent consolidating the vast territories he inherited. He extended control over the salt mines of Tagaza, the copper mines of Takeda, and the trade routes connecting them all. He built up his army, his bureaucracy, his treasury. By the time he decided to make his pilgrimage, he commanded resources that no single ruler had ever commanded before. When Mansa Musa made his pilgrimage to Mecca in 1324, he brought with him 60,000 people. 60,000. That is larger than most medieval cities. It was an army of pilgrims, soldiers, servants, officials, and scholars, all moving across the Sahara Desert together. 12,000 servants accompanied him, many of them enslaved. 80 camels each carried 300 pounds of solid gold dust. Not gold coins, not gold jewelry, gold dust, pure and unrefined, literally tons of it loaded onto animals and carried across the most hostile environment on earth. 500 heralds dressed in silk and carrying golden staffs walked ahead of him, giving gold to every poor person they passed. Before they ever reached Cairo, Mansa Musa's reputation had spread across North Africa. The pilgrimage was not just a religious obligation. It was a statement. Mansa Musa wanted the world to know that Mali existed, that it was powerful, that it was wealthy beyond imagining. Every person who saw his caravan, every merchant who received his gold, every ruler who hosted his court learned that lesson. Mali was not a backwater kingdom on the edge of the known world. It was the center of something immense. Cairo in 1324 was the greatest city of the Islamic world. It was the seat of the Mamluk Sultanate, the power that had defeated the Mongols and the Crusaders. It was a center of trade, learning, and political power that rivaled anything in Europe or Asia. And when Mansa Musa arrived, Cairo stopped. The meeting between Mansa Musa and the Mamluk Sultan al-Nasir Muhammad was one of the great diplomatic encounters of the medieval world. Two of the most powerful rulers on earth, face to face, each commanding resources the other could barely imagine. Al-Nasir had seen wealth before. He had seen embassies from across the Islamic world. He had never seen anything like the Malian king. The sources describe the Malian delegation overwhelming Cairo with its sheer scale. Thousands of people needed food, water, shelter. The markets were stripped bare. The streets were filled with people speaking unfamiliar languages, wearing unfamiliar clothing, carrying unfamiliar goods. And everywhere, gold. When he passed through Cairo, he gave away so much gold that he single-handedly crashed the Egyptian economy. The price of gold collapsed across North Africa and the Middle East, and it took 12 years to recover. One man's generosity triggered a decade-long economic depression across 3 continents. The problem was simple supply and demand. Gold had been rare in Egypt, carefully managed by the treasury and the merchants. Then Mansa Musa arrived and simply gave it away. He paid for everything in gold. He distributed gold to the poor. He bought goods at inflated prices and paid in gold. He left gold with every official who helped him, every scholar who impressed him, every poet who praised him. The markets were flooded with more gold than they had seen in centuries. And the value of gold plummeted. A contemporary Arab historian wrote that the value of gold in Cairo did not recover to its pre-Musa levels until 1336, 12 years after the pilgrimage. 12 years of economic distortion caused by one man's generosity. The Malian king had literally broken the economy of the most powerful state in the Islamic world just by spending his money. The stories of Mansa Musa's wealth spread across the Islamic world and then beyond. Arab historians recorded every detail they could gather. The number of servants, the weight of gold, the size of the caravan, the gifts to rulers and scholars. The accounts grew with each telling, but the core truth remained. There had never been anyone like this man. The legends reached Europe as well. On a famous Catalan atlas produced in 1375, Mansa Musa appears seated on a golden throne, holding a golden scepter, with a golden nugget in his crown. The caption reads, "This Negro lord is called Musa Mali, Lord of the Negroes of Guinea." So abundant is the gold which is found in his country that he is the richest and most noble king in all the land. For Europeans, Mansa Musa was proof that Africa was not just a source of slaves and ivory but a place of unimaginable wealth. The legends of his pilgrimage inspired explorers, traders, and adventurers for centuries. When the Portuguese began sailing down the coast of Africa in the 15th century, they were looking for Mansa Musa's gold. Before Mansa Musa, Timbuktu was a trading post, important for caravans crossing the Sahara, but not much more. It had no great universities, no libraries, no reputation beyond its markets. Mansa Musa changed that. On his return from Mecca, he brought back scholars, architects, and poets. He commissioned the great mosques of Timbuktu, the Jingareber, the Sankor, the Sidi Yahya. He brought Andalusian architect Abu Ishaq al-Sahili to design buildings in the distinctive Sudano-Sahelian style that still defines the city today. He turned Timbuktu from a desert trading post into one of the great centers of learning in the world. The Jingareber Mosque still stands today, 500 years later, its mud brick walls rising above the city. It is a monument not just to faith but to ambition, the ambition of a king who wanted his capital to be worthy of his empire. Back home, Mansa Musa built universities, libraries, and mosques. Timbuktu became one of the greatest centers of learning in the world. The Sankor University held over 1 million manuscripts. Scholars from across the Islamic world flocked to his kingdom to study mathematics, astronomy, history, and law. The manuscripts of Timbuktu covered every subject imaginable. There were works on mathematics, astronomy, medicine, philosophy, law, poetry, and history. There were copies of the Quran illuminated by local artists. There were legal texts, commercial contracts, love letters, and magical treatises. The libraries of Timbuktu held more books than most European capitals at the time. Sankor University was not a single building but a collection of schools and libraries spread across the city. Scholars came from Egypt, from Morocco, from Spain, from Arabia. They taught and studied and debated in an atmosphere of intellectual freedom that was rare anywhere in the world. Mansa Musa had not just built buildings. He had built a civilization. Timbuktu's golden age lasted for centuries after Mansa Musa's death. The universities he founded continued to attract scholars from across the Islamic world. The libraries he stocked continued to grow. The city became synonymous with learning and culture across West Africa. When Europeans finally reached Timbuktu in the 19th century, they were surprised by what they found. They had expected a city of gold, a place of legendary wealth. Instead they found a city of books, a place where scholarship was valued as much as trade. The manuscripts they saw, the libraries they visited, the scholars they met, all testified to the civilization Mansa Musa had built. Many of those manuscripts survive today, preserved by families and institutions in Timbuktu despite centuries of hardship. In recent decades, they have been threatened by conflict, by climate, by neglect. But efforts to preserve and digitize them continue. The knowledge Mansa Musa paid for still exists, still waiting to be studied. Modern economists estimate Mansa Musa's wealth at over $400 billion in today's money, making him not just the richest man in African history, but the richest human being who ever walked this earth. But that number misses the point. The richest people in modern history, John D. Rockefeller, Andrew Carnegie, Jeff Bezos, had fortunes measured in billions. Mansa Musa's wealth cannot be measured that way. He did not have a bank account. He did not have stock portfolios. He had gold mines. He had entire gold fields that produced more gold than the rest of the world combined. He had a treasury that was literally the source of the currency that powered medieval economies. When you control more than half the world's gold supply, you are not rich in the way that rich people are rich. You are rich in the way that nature is rich. You are rich in the way that the sun is rich. You cannot spend it all because there is too much. You cannot deplete it because it keeps coming out of the ground. You are not a participant in the economy, you are the economy. Mansa Musa was not just a wealthy king. He was a devout Muslim who made one of the most epic pilgrimages in history because his faith required it. He spent enormous sums building mosques and supporting scholars because he believed that knowledge was valuable. He brought architects, poets, and intellectuals back from Mecca because he wanted his empire to be part of the wider Islamic civilization. He ruled for approximately 25 years. In that time, he transformed Mali from a regional power into one of the great empires of the medieval world. He established diplomatic relations with rulers across North Africa and the Middle East. He built institutions that lasted for centuries. He made his name synonymous with wealth, yes, but also with civilization. What did he think about, that king with more gold than anyone else? Did he understand the scale of his wealth? Did he know that his pilgrimage would be remembered for centuries? Did he realize that the universities he built would outlast his dynasty? We cannot know. But we can see what he left behind. Mansa Musa's empire eventually declined. The gold fields were depleted. The trade routes shifted. New powers rose. But the legend never died. The mosques he built still stand in Timbuktu. The manuscripts he funded are still being studied. The stories of his pilgrimage are still told. In popular culture, Mansa Musa has become a symbol of wealth beyond comprehension. Internet memes compare his fortune to modern billionaires. Articles debate whether anyone has ever been richer. But the memes and the articles miss the point. Mansa Musa was not rich in the way that rich people are rich. He was rich in the way that kings are rich. His wealth was his kingdom, and his kingdom was his wealth. He funded civilization. The universities he built educated generations. The scholars he supported produced knowledge that still survives. The gold he distributed built cities and fed families and supported trade across 3 continents. He did not just have wealth. He was wealth itself. And he spent it on the one thing that lasts. Knowledge. Mansa Musa. The richest man who ever lived. And the proof that wealth, properly used, can build something that outlasts gold.